At first glance, Mumbai's existence feels like a contradiction. If you were to design the ideal location for a megacity, this may be one of the last choices. If you could rewind the clock 4 centuries, you would see something entirely different to the megacity you see today. You would be looking at 7 small, swampy, malaria-prone islands separated by treacherous creeks and marshes. The space here is scarce, the coastline is vulnerable to flooding, and every monsoon brings waterlogging that can shut down entire neighborhoods. Yet Mumbai not only exists here, it thrives. Here is a city of more than 25 million people, India's financial capital and one of the most influential urban centers in the world. So why is it here? The story of Mumbai is a story of audacious human ambition triumphing over nature itself. To understand Mumbai, you have to start with its original, fragmented state. Those 7 islands, Kolaba, Old Woman's Island, Bombay, Mazagaon, Parel, Worli, and Mahim, were essentially a chain of low-lying hills rising from the Arabian Sea. They were cloaked in dense palms and separated by thick, swampy tidal flats. The area was inundated during high tide and was home to fishing communities like the Kolis, who were the original inhabitants. The eastern side looked onto the wide, calm Thane Creek, while the western shores faced the open fury of the Arabian Sea. This challenging, waterlogged terrain was the raw material. There were no vast plains or naturally defensible peaks, just a scattered archipelago that seemed better suited for fishing than for a future global capital. The geography presented a puzzle, and the first major settlers saw a solution everyone else had missed. What those early settlers saw was not the swamps, but the incredible potential lying between them. While the islands themselves were unimpressive, the body of water they enclosed was a geographical gem. The channels between the islands created a magnificent, deep and sheltered natural harbor. It was protected from the worst of the monsoon storms by the layout of the land itself. This was the key. On India's long western coastline, there were few places where large ships could safely dock. It became the closest and best oceanic gateway to the vast and wealthy hinterlands of western and northern India. When the Portuguese arrived in the 16th century, they established control over the islands, building forts and churches, but it remained a relatively minor outpost compared to larger centers like Goa. But the story of modern Mumbai begins not with a conquest, but with a wedding gift. In 1661, the Portuguese, who controlled the islands, gave them to the British crown as part of the dowry for Catherine of Braganza when she married King Charles II of England. Charles, reportedly unimpressed with this swampy gift, famously rented the islands to the English East India Company for a mere 10 pounds of gold a year. For the company, this was a monumental gamble. They saw the potential for a secure base that their European rivals lacked. Under their direction, the grueling, centuries-long work of reclamation began. They built causeways and seawalls, slowly filling in the marshes and joining the islands into a single landmass. They offered incentives for traders, artisans, and weavers from across India to settle there, promising religious freedom and economic opportunity. And so Mumbai's modern success can be traced directly back to that initial gamble on its harbor. As the British Raj solidified, the city then called Bombay became the primary export port for cotton from the hinterlands of Maharashtra and Gujarat. When the American Civil War cut off cotton supplies to Europe, Bombay's boom was spectacular, and the wealth generated funded much of its iconic Victorian architecture. This established a pattern that continues today. Mumbai as a massive processing and trading center for raw materials and goods from the mainland. After India's independence in 1947, this economic magnetism only intensified, and thus the city became the hub for finance with the Bombay Stock Exchange at its core. It attracted the burgeoning Hindi film industry, which became the beloved Bollywood. Most importantly, it became a symbol of hope. This relentless draw of opportunity has been the single greatest fuel for its growth, turning it into a melting pot of cultures, languages, and ambitions. Finally, infrastructure has been crucial. Railways, highways, airports, and now metro lines connect the city internally and externally. Each expansion of transport capacity has allowed the city to absorb more people and more economic activity, keeping it ahead of competitors. The geographical reality of those original 7 islands dictates life in modern Mumbai. The city is almost painfully linear, stretched north to south on a narrow peninsula. At the southern tip is the historic core, South Mumbai, with its grand colonial-era buildings, corporate headquarters, and the iconic Gateway of India. Moving north, the city transforms. The incredibly dense suburbs stretch for miles, their form utterly shaped by the three major railway lines, the Western, Central, and Harbour lines that run along the peninsula's length. These railways are the city's lifeline, moving millions upon millions of people every single day. Development is intense along these corridors, creating a crowded, vibrant, and chaotic urban fabric. Inside the municipal boundaries lies Sanjay Gandhi National Park, a vast stretch of forest that contains rocky ridges, caves, and even wild leopards. Few megacities have such a large, protected green core within their limits, but in Mumbai, this natural reserve sits side by side with sprawling suburbs and high-rise clusters. To ease the pressure, the planned city of Navi Mumbai was developed in the 1970s on the mainland across Thane Creek. Connected by massive bridges like the recently opened Atal Setu, Navi Mumbai represents a more planned chapter in the metropolitan area's expansion, but the island city remains an undeniable heart. Together, with Thane and Vasai Virar, it forms a metropolitan region that now houses over 25 million people. You see, I have a strong belief that the best way to experience a city is by walking the same places where locals themselves find room to breathe and connect. And for all its traffic and density, Mumbai sure offers some of India's most memorable pedestrian experiences. One of the most iconic is Marine Drive, a sweeping promenade along the Arabian Sea. In the evenings, it fills with people, couples watching the sunset, families enjoying snacks, joggers, and vendors. The arc of lights along the bay has earned it the nickname the Queen's Necklace. Kolaba Causeway in South Mumbai is another pedestrian-friendly stretch, bustling with street markets, cafes, and small shops. Here you can see the blend of locals and tourists bargaining for clothes and antiques before sitting down for chai or seafood. Meanwhile, Bandra has two popular waterfront promenades, Carter Road and Bandstand, where people walk, chat, and enjoy the sea breeze. These areas have become social hubs, lined with cafes and open-air seating that make them especially lively in the evenings. And then there are the quieter escapes. Sanjay Gandhi National Park offers forest trails inside the city, while neighborhoods like Fort and Kala Goda have tree-lined streets filled with art galleries and cultural venues. These places give Mumbai the variety it needs, a city that moves at full speed but still finds time to stroll. If you enjoyed this deep dive into this incredible megacity, don't forget to subscribe to Cities Explained, the channel where we explore the world's biggest urban giants, one city at a time, uncovering what makes them unique, from their geography, their intricate transport networks, to their pedestrian culture and street life. Here's a sneak peek at the cities we'll be exploring next. Now, there is a city that, despite being the second most populated city on Earth, almost no one knows about it, let alone its most popular spots, urban layout, or even geography. Well, you can watch all that in my latest video about the world's second largest megacity, Jakarta, Indonesia.